Ladies and gentlemen, dear Just Plain viewers and Nav Geeks alike, welcome aboard the Silkway West Airlines Boeing 747-400 freighter. My name is Zahid Khan. With me, my colleague on the flight deck and good friend Hamid Malikov will fly you together from Baku to Amsterdam. The flight time is estimated to be 4 hours 49 minutes, initially climbing up to 32,000 feet and thereafter step climbing to 34,000 feet. We're just about ready to go now here in Baku, and we'll be taxiing out to runway 17, about 5 minutes taxi out and departing to the south and heading over, routing here, heading towards west Azerbaijan, entering Georgia, crossing into Turkey and Bulgaria and Romania, all the way across Romania, Hungary, Vienna today, and then into Germany, into Holland, starting our descent to Amsterdam. The weather is mostly okay, just the usual lumps and bumps in the usual places over Romania and towards northwestern Europe. Some turbulence to be expected. We have a jet stream, but otherwise it's a pretty clear day. I'll be flying to Amsterdam, and Hamid will be pilot monitoring. So welcome aboard, and hope you enjoyed this video series in cooperation with Just Planes. And just a few words for our Azeri viewers. Hanımlar ve canavlar, bu Silkway West Avia şirketten Boeing 747 400 tiyarının görüntüsüne hoş gelmişsiniz. Benim adım Zahid Khan'dir ve hemkarımla birlikte Malikov Hamid siz Baku Azerbaycan'dan Amsterdam'a götürecek. Uç zamanı 4 saat ve 50 dakika teşkil eder. Biz umut ederiz ki siz Boeing 747 tiyarısından ve bizimle seyahatten zevk alacaksınız. Teşekkür ederim. Okay, Hamid, pre-flight checklist please.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Is test 1%?
Test 1%. Flight instruments.
Is set for now?
Set. Park brake.
Is set.
Fuel control switch.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
Thank you very much. So, Hamid, since I'm flying, I'll read the OPT if you could cross-check please. So, according to the latest weather information we have, Sierra Whiskey 888, no MEL, no CDL, Baku runway 17, condition dry, wind 2602 knots, temperature 13, QNH 1025, rating optimum, flap 20, 3 packs on, anti-ice off, and the CG we have actual already 26.1 and we select 24 here. Takeoff weight by ramp weight 354.2.
Checked.
747-400 RB211 524 Gulf engines, takeoff flap 20, engine out, acceleration height 1500 feet AGL, D-rate takeoff 1, select temperature 33, EPA 1.62, V1 146, VR 159, V2 169, VREF 30 172.
Checked.
No emergency turn procedure, and if we look at the graphic, we have a little bit of margin, and I think that's okay for today.
Yeah.
Happy?
Happy.
So, briefing. Weather is absolutely fine. Aircraft status is good. No times I've checked. There's no times to affect us. Noise abatement, we do an ATP1 by charts, Baku charts. And so terminal charts, we're on chart 10-9, 10th of September 21. Standard, Charlie 6.
Yeah.
Pushback facing north, Bravo 1, Bravo Hotel, all the way, holding point runway 17 full length. Okay. SID, we're expecting the 10-3 Juliet, 13th of August 21. Rassam 1, sorry, Agdam 1 Charlie.
Checked.
Transition altitude 9,000 feet.
Checked. Checked.
It's an RNAV departure, so we need RMP 1. Checked. Okay, MSA from the Baku VOR 2,600 feet west case. And the routing, Bravo 100 above 1,000.
Checked.
That's a fly over waypoint. BB 100, 103 at 8,000.
Check.
105 above 110. Amsterdam above 120.
Checked.
Autopilot flight track to use, LNAV, VNAV, a little bit of manual flying.
Okay.
And miscellaneous, I can't really think of anything special today. Any questions for normal brief?
No questions.
Okay, emergency brief. In the event I decide to reject the takeoff for V1 of 146, I will call reject. Take control of the plane, close the thrust levers, disconnect the auto throttle, ensure braking, raise the speed brake, and reverse thrust as applicable. If you see inboard or outboard for the reverse engine reverses, please call me. If you see auto brake, ICAS message, please call me.
Okay.
We'll stop the plane, apply the park brake, see what the problem was, do the memory items if we need, nice and slowly, methodically, informing ATC. At V1, the call is continue, no action below 400 feet, except to raise the gear to positive climb. 250 feet, autopilot is available, heading select, bank angle 15, but I won't engage the autopilot till the aircraft's in trim. 400 feet, we confirm the malfunction, do any memory items if we need, and climb away 1500 feet, accelerate, and we can go to flaps up today. There's no icing conditions, but we need to dump some fuel anyway, so. When the flaps are up, we're clear of terrain, check continuous thrust, bank selector back to auto, non-normal checklist, normal checklist. Dumping, we need about 50 tons to dump, which is about 25 minutes, not below 6,000 feet. I mean, if it's something really critical, time critical, I'll fly the plane, you do the checklist, okay, as much as you can. Because the wind is calm, we could really do a sort of a teardrop for runway 34, or we can just take left downwind to give a bit more time and come back for runway 17, longest and widest runway in Baku.
Okay.
But there's no overweight landing checklist in the 400, but just remember it's flaps 25 basically. Any questions?
No questions.
Anything to add?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you very much. Ground flight tech, confirm the gear pins remove clearance pressurized hydraulic systems. So, Hamid, before start procedure please. Oh my God. Before start checklist, please.
Before start checklist. Seatbelt signs.
Set.
MCP.
MCP is set.
Takeoff speeds.
Set.
Trim is 5.3 units. 0, 0. Beacon, pause. Before start checklist complete.
Thank you very much. Request pushback, please.
Ground Silkway 209, salam her vaxtınız xeyir. Stand Charlie 6. Information request pushing start.
Start approved from the 17, Kennedy 1025 time 06.
Pushing start approved, runway 17, Kennedy 1025, Silkway 209.
Ground flight tech.
Sure.
Pushback start approved, runway 17.
Face to north.
Face to north, FM.
Face north, please park brake release.
And the park brake is released.
Face to north, Avenue to Charlie 6.
FM. Thank you. Ground flight tech.
Right, sir.
When you're ready, the start sequence 4, 3, 2 and 1, 2 by 2.
Please wait to turn pushback machine.
Right. Go ahead.
Start engine on 4-2.
Okay. 4 and 3, da?
Yes, 4-3.
Okay, starting 4 and 3. Start 4-3 please, Hamid.
4-3 start.
Packs are checked. Tak, there's the self-test. Self-test. Okay, starting engine turn 1. Start engine turn 1 please. Cancel.
Sonra bir 4-5 diagnoz olabilir, turmoid olacaksa 16 alfa gitti yetersiz. Carbon.
Good for the pitch to run. Flight deck. Ground from flight deck. All good, engine start, you're clear to disconnect. Hand signals, left side please. Çok sağ olun, görüşürüz. Clear. Follow me through on the rudder, please. The flight control check. Full left. Center. Full right. Center. Tops. Elevator. Out. Camera left. Neutral. Before tax checks, please.
Before tax check, the CPU off, anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, auto brake,
RTO,
ground equipment,
clear left,
clear right, flight controls.
check it.
Before tax check is complete.
The line, please.
Ground, Silkway 209, request taxi.
Bravo 1, Bravo Alpha.
Via Bravo 1, Bravo Alpha, on the point runway 17, Silkway 209.
As briefed, yeah.
Yeah.
Cockpit, please. Taxi light on.
It's on.
Laps 20.
Laps moving 20.
latest QNH, I have a feeling it's changed.
230 degrees.
Same.
Okay, thanks.
We have a 3 minutes.
3 minutes past, checked.
Right side clear.
Clear left. A little bit uphill here.
Clear on the right.
Thank you, and it's still clear left. And we have a bit of time now. Before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist flaps.
20.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Sure, sure. Okay, runway 17 identified by Alpha. Approach path is clear. Turkish is on 16. Line of items, please. There's no weather, I'll take the train as well. Bridge.
Runway is clear. Line up and wait.
Supernumerary chart.
Request 209 report ready.
Road for departure, Silkway 209.
Right, 209, wait, we will call you. Request 209, runway 17, cleared for takeoff. Wind 230 degrees for knots.
Clear for takeoff, runway 17, Silkway 209, so.
Ready?
Actual last name 120 decimal 8 now.
So 123, top 3, Silkway 209. Right.
Setting takeoff first. Check.
Eight knots, trust set.
Checked.
8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, 8 knots, on top, 700 feet.
Tamam, Silkway 209, ready contact, climb under seat to flight level 130.
Climb under seat to flight level 130, Silkway 209.
Set level 130, please.
130.
Checked. And wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, yes.
Далее 2000 потом. Понял вас на 48, продолжим. Продолжим.
Setting takeoff first. Check. Checked. Gear up, please.
Request 209, runway 17, cleared for takeoff. Wind 230 degrees for knots.
Clear for takeoff, runway 17, Silkway 209, so.
Ready?
Actual left table 120 decimal 8, so.
Show 123, top table, Silkway 209. Right.
Setting takeoff first. Check. Checked. Gear up, please.
Departure Southwest 209, atmosfäre till Boeing climb 4000, on top 700 feet.
Tamam, Silkway 209, ready contact, climb under seat to flight level 130.
Climb under seat to flight level 130, Southwest 209.
Set level 130, please.
130.
Checked.
Nokta üzerinde tapşırığı yerine getireceğiz. 200 metre yığabilirsiniz. Altın üzerinde məlumat verin. Qəbul etdim, 1000 metre tapşırığı bitirdik.
Against the left port fire, please. Left of the pilot, incorrect. This is the highest point of Azerbaijan. Its name is Bazar Düzü. It's around 3,000 meters. I think it's 3,366 meters.
If you said it so precisely, it means you know it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a beautiful part of Azerbaijan. There's some ski resorts as well, brand new ski resorts. In fact, it's the season now, isn't it?
Where? It's near the Gabala airport. This is the Gabala there.
40 miles. Gabala is second biggest city of Azerbaijan, isn't it?
No.
No?
The second, the Ganja.
Ganja, yeah. Gabala is quite pretty because it sort of lines the foothills of the mountains and goes into the valley there.
Silkway 209.
Sarhaddan bas.
Turkish 261 over Baku connectable EC 125.125. İyi günler olsun.
I think it's okay, yeah.
Yes, right.
Turkish 261.
Okay, director, Lagas and execute.
Lagos on top. Unit beam?
Yes, please.
Execute.
Thank you. Into the wind.
To go.
Checked. Yes.
Checked.
Vienna.
Check.
Top of climb. So the city we just approaching now is a west coastal city called Batumi, Georgia. It's actually up and coming. Before COVID, there were a lot of concerts and a lot of music events happening there. Big singers were from Europe and all over were coming there for concerts, and it's on the coast, quite nice, beautiful. So we're now over the Black Sea, and well, basically our routing to all destinations west, to all of our European destinations, is via Turkey. So now it's a good 2 hours west over Turkey, and basically we kind of hug the coast along the north coast of Turkey over the Black Sea. And we've just changed over to Ankara radar. Georgia's beautiful. There's a lot of nature. High ground to the north, high ground to the south. Good food. Really nice, warm people. And you can see here actually the coast. There's actually quite some beach along the coast. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, a little bit of a progress check. We're at our final cruising altitude, 34,000 feet, and we're about halfway through the flight. 2 hours 34 minutes into our flight, literally overhead Bucharest, where I've checked the weather. It's not very good, and we've just entered into this high-level wispy cirrus cloud, which hopefully should clear up soon. But the weather in northwestern Europe is not very good, so we're not hopeful it's gonna clear up soon. Nevertheless, we just to give you a rundown on what we did. So we took off from Baku, Azerbaijan, to the south. The winds were actually favoring runway 35, which would have been better for us, shorter taxi and shorter flight time. However, we tried to ask air traffic control, and they were unable due to other traffic arriving. You might have noticed there momentarily we were held on takeoff position, and this is mainly because on runway 16 we would take off on 17. On runway 16 there was a Turkish A321 landing, and so we can't get takeoff clearance until the other traffic touches down safely. So we took off and turned to the right, westerly, follow the standard instrument departure, which ends at Amsterdam, and then we got a direct at some point here to Ideki, which is the FIR border with Georgia, with Tbilisi. We saw some lovely views of the train in the northwest of Azerbaijan, and which you can see here, all of this range. So then we crossed over to Tbilisi, lovely weather. We passed Tbilisi to the south, and we came to this lovely city of Batumi, which is just here, although it's not in the database because the runway is too short. But up-and-coming place if for all the party goers. And we entered into Turkish airspace via Sarpi. Got a nice direct routing here, which saved us a few minutes, and another direct routing here towards Lugeb, which is through Sofia airspace, Bulgaria airspace, into Romania, and we're presently over here, over Bucharest. So as you can see here, in our flight planning software, we can see there's some low-level weather here, which is passing through, but we're above it all, but we're in this high-level cirrus cloud. And then we'll be continuing our journey across Hungary and into Vienna airspace, Vienna, and making our way into Germany for the descent. So that's our progress check. And for those of you who don't know Silkway and Silkway Group, I think we're becoming quite well known in the cargo industry, but for those who are more familiar with passenger airlines, just a quick brief on Silkway. So we are Silkway West Airlines. We're part of the Silkway Group, and our origins are actually decades old now. We started off as Silkway Airlines, which still exists, by the way. It's also part of the Silkway group. But Silkway Airlines started off in early 2000, so 2001, with the Illusion 76 aircraft. And over the years, they've just celebrated 20th anniversary this year. And in approximately 2010, with the wet lease agreement with a major Northwest European cargo carrier, we acquired our first 747-400 cargo aircraft, also on the Silkway Airlines technically. And this major all cargo carrier flew via Baku to Asia with in cooperation with Silkway, and then from the same company we acquired 3 Boeing 747-400s in 2010, and basically that's where the story of the Boeing 747 starts for Silkway and for Azerbaijan as a whole. This one actually, this aircraft we're flying right now, SW888, is the second of the 3 planes, I believe, from Luxembourg back to Baku in the next few days, which hopefully Just Planes will also be on board with. That's SW800, and SW800 was our first 747-400. So we received 3 747-400s, started flying. I'm involved with the story from then, basically. 2010-11, we progressively received these aeroplanes, and then shortly after, we received 2 Boeing 767-300 freighters from Boeing, directly brand new, and so we had for a short period 3 747 freighters and 2 767s. And then, as always, the progress is onwards and upwards. We ordered Boeing 747-8s from Boeing directly, and we started to receive them in 2014. In 2014, within the space of a few weeks, we received 2. It was a very nice time, very nice feeling, because the 747-8 was still quite new back then. It is still now, but definitely then. And we progressively over the years, we received 5 -8s, and I'm pleased to say I've been quite involved in this. I mean, anything to do with sort of ordering of planes and receiving planes and delivering planes is always exciting, but especially for the 747, because unfortunately at the time of filming it's determined that Boeing has stopped production of the 747, and the venerable Queen of the Skies will, I think, continue to fly in a cargo configuration for many years. But just this feeling of being part of something that is coming to an end, 50-year history of the 747 and everything, was quite special. So I'm quite lucky in that sense. But the story doesn't stop there, because as of March or April this year, we announced another order with Boeing for Boeing 777-777 freighters, 5 pieces. But of course, as always, things change very fast in Silkway, and things move very fast in Silkway, and 5 may turn into more, but we're due to receive the first 777s in 2023. So at present our fleet is comprised of 5 747-400s and 5 747-8s, and 2 747-400s actually flying for one of our subsidiaries in Russia. So all in all, we're 12. And from 2023 we'll receive our 777s. So I think quite sizable market share in freight flying, basically. And Silkway West basically was a spring off from Silkway Airlines with the Boeing aircraft, and we've been established from 2012. And yeah, so Silkway Airlines still exists. They still fly Illusion. They're still flying all over the world. They are what we call our passion movers, and we are the ambition movers, Silkway West. There's also other aviation companies under the Silkway group, which I'm sure Just Planes maybe someday will have an opportunity to fly with our other subsidiary companies. So yeah, and me personally, I'm from the UK, if you haven't already realized. I started off flying in 2005 and flight training in the UK, and then was jobless for a short while because I finished my flight training during the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. I was lucky enough to have my first break flying small turboprop Saab 2000 in the UK, domestic flying and flying over Europe. And then I had a lucky break with the 747. I remember going through jobs, and I saw a job advert, Boeing 747 pilots required, and I flicked across Boeing 747, you know, forget about it, you're a Saab 2000 23-ton turboprop pilot. And then hang on a minute, I went back to the advert and realized, yep, I meet all the requirements. So I applied, and I was lucky enough to be called for an interview. I was even more lucky to get the job, and thanks to a very famous ACMI company from Scandinavia, and thanks to them I had my break on the 747, and a very good experience because we were flying in Saudi Arabia, basically passenger airplanes, cargo airplanes, flying all over the world, flying to challenging places, flying places where probably people wouldn't go, you know. And then I flew for a Belgian company with 747s, and then the project Silkway came along with Boeing, so I joined in around 2011, I believe. I joined Silkway, so I'm about with a short break in the middle somewhere, flying for a major Middle East national carrier on the Boeing 777, basically enjoying about 9 years or almost 10 years of service with Silkway, and it's been nice to have been part of the story all along, and we've got much more to do, many more successes, many more milestones to meet, and onwards and upwards. My colleague here though, Hamid, he has a story to tell, I'm sure. Hamid was flying Dreamliners, right?
Yeah, hello, my name is Hamid. I'm first officer today, and I joined to aviation in 2012 and Azerbaijan Airlines. And first my plane was Cessna 172 Skyhawk, then Boeing 757 and Boeing 767, and around 4 years I flew on the 787 Dreamliner, Boeing 787 Dreamliner, and 2 years, almost 2 years, I joined the Silkway West.
Wow, it's been 2 years already. Almost.
Yes, already.
Wow.
Yeah, and the 747.
I say wow, because I did your first landing.
Yeah.
I was with you for your first landings.
Yeah, we did it together.
Yeah.
I flew on the 747 with him, and
Feels like yesterday.
Yes,
Really?
yes. And it's very good to fly in the cargo plane, and the Jumbo, one of the biggest plane in the world.
Okay, simple question.
Yeah.
Dreamliner or 747?
Boeing.
Boeing! Diplomatic answer. Okay, passengers or freight?
I think freight.
Freight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a freight dog now.
Yeah.
So we were just having a conversation here and reviewing how difficult it was during COVID time. Well, we're still going through it really, but so unfortunately a lot of our colleagues on the passenger aircraft are grounded at the moment, and it's very sad to see when your colleagues and friends and in some cases family are grounded when they all love to do what they do, which is generally the case with pilots. Yeah, it's very sad to see. But today my message is of hope. We were lucky. Checked. Can execute. We were luckily for cargo pilots. We continued flying through the whole time, and even aviation adapted after a bit of a slow start with the passenger plane, started to fly cargo as well. And that's an innovation in itself. But I remember speaking to a colleague just last evening over dinner, and some of us, you know, we ended up spending. We knew we were at a profound moment in history, in aviation, and in the world, and we knew we just had to buckle up and get the job done. Last year, during the thick of COVID, for example, I didn't go home for about 7 months, so I flew for 7 months. And a colleague of mine I was having dinner with last night, he mentioned he remembers distinctively leaving home and having this feeling that something's amiss in the beginning of COVID, and said, "Goodbye, my dear, I will see you when I see you." And he also spent as long as me, 7 months in the end. So nothing to do, no way to go home, borders all closed. Cargo needed to flow. Countries needed vital supplies. So we flew day and night, respecting the limitations, of course. In some cases, we even had exemptions from authorities, and tightened our belts, locked it out. And here we are now, kind of we're getting through it slowly, but new variants come along. The situation is still dynamic, but my message today is of hope for all those fallen colleagues. You're not fallen just yet. You'll be up and going soon. I remember I mentioned after I finished flight training, I was grounded for some time during the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. And I remember I was so demoralized because a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends who we did flight training together, most of them actually luckily went from flight training straight into jobs with like low-cost carriers and 737, and the dream was like that. You finish your flight training, you go straight into an airline job, and at that moment, after 4 years, probably you could expect to be a captain, and everything was set out. But for me, the story was very different. While all my friends were getting jobs, going straight onto 737s and jets, I was jobless. I wasn't very successful in getting to the interview point. And I remember day and night, literally just sending out CVs anywhere and everywhere in the world. There was probably not a stone I didn't leave unturned. And I thought, well, I can't just sit on my backside, I have to do something. And I decided to get a job at the airport, and at the time the only jobs going were aircraft valeting, so I was cleaning airplanes at my local airport in Birmingham. And it kept me in the aviation environment. At least I saw planes, I got onto planes, I got off planes, I cleaned them internally, externally. I was happy, like a pig in muck. And being the av geek that I am, I used to remember the registrations, because they were regulars for night stops and things. We used to do deep cleans and all this kind of thing. And I remember when I got upgraded to captain with Silkway, I remember a moment which was just like so satisfying, so gratifying. I landed in Amsterdam and I taxied off the runway, and I saw 737 from the national carrier taxiing by, and I glanced at the registration, and I remembered the registration said, I've cleaned you many times. And here I am now, captain of a 747, taxiing past. It was so satisfying, so gratifying. Always remember, anything can happen. You have to be ready to do what you need to do, and never lose hope. You don't know what fate has in store for you. A lot of my friends who actually got jobs straight away, as it happens, a lot of them are still on 737s or still as first officers. And I went to turboprops. I thought, what have I done wrong, kind of thing. Really demoralized, but still enjoyed flying turboprops. And somehow I ended up here. So yeah, again, message of hope. Don't lose hope. Keep going. As always, aviation will get back on its knees again. On its feet again. They don't want to be on its knees. So it's hard not to come across Silkway and be known for the 747, because that's the makeup of our fleet, right? 12 747s. I mean, every pilot that flies the 747 is in love with it. Every spotter is probably in love with it. If you ask a child, draw me an aeroplane, they'll probably draw a 747 with a hub, or plane with a hub. That's a 747. But the 747 is actually a very old airplane. Last year, Boeing celebrated 50 years of the 747, starting with the 100, 200, 300, and then now this is the 400. Was sort of developed mid-80s, and the first ones, at least in cargo configuration,
128, 905, Silkway 209. Thank you, bye-bye.
Durham is just changing over to Budapest radar.
Budapest Silkway 209, and good afternoon, level 340 direct, Begla.
Yes, ladies. Budapest radar, good 803, Victor, level 370, requesting 350 in Montana.
So 3 Victor, Victor, Sierra, Delta 350, 350.
Descending level 350, thank you, Delta 3 Victor, Victor.
Budapest Silkway 209, good afternoon, level 340 direct, Begla.
Request 209, Sierra, Delta 6.
All good?
Good.
Yeah, so the 747-400, the current airplane we're sitting in now, is basically a mid-80s design, a big improvement from the 747-300, which up until the 400, those are all considered 747 classics. The 747-400 kind of developed around the same time as the 747, the 767 and the 757. There's a lot of commonality. Boeing developed a lot of their ICAS philosophies and glass cockpit philosophies from there. And one of the key things that's different by the 400 is they managed to dump the flight engineer. So a lot of the flight engineer's duties on the 400 onwards is either automated or it's all up here on the overhead panel for us to manage by ourselves, just with two pilots. So the first 400s really in freight version started to roll out early 90s, and we've had the 400 ever since. In the early 2000s, Boeing decided to go one step further. Airbus was developing the 380, and the only logical thing for Boeing to do in the large transport category was to improve on the 400. And at the same time, they were developing the 787 Dreamliner. So you find a lot of technology that's in the Dreamliner in the 747-8. And I remember watching the first flight. It must have been 2011, maybe slightly earlier. I remember watching the first flight, and literally I know I'll be flying it someday. But the 747-8 has a sort of a hybrid flight control system where it's semi-fly-by-wire, but it's still conventional in other forms. Basically, the elevators are and the rudders are still conventional cables and pulleys, and the roll function of the aeroplane and the spoilers are all fly-by-wire. And other advances, a totally different wing. It flies totally differently. It's a supercritical wing, like the Dreamliner. Loves to fly fast. It's more efficient, faster, and other improvements for pilots in terms of flight operations as well. In terms of comfort, I think nothing improved for pilots. Still the same seat, still the same cockpit. But we end up spending hundreds of hours a year in 747. The 747, 400 and Dash 8 are beautiful airplanes to fly. They fly when new pilots are coming onto the 747. I think you remember probably, Hamid, I mentioned to you, it flies just like a Cessna.
Yeah.
It really does. It's big and slow and very forgiving, and nothing happens fast in the 747. You think it's a big airplane, so you need to be, rushing with things, but actually not. It's a beautiful airplane. Nothing happens fast. Gives you lots of time to think about it. Of course, you always have to be ahead of an airplane mentally, but yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I've been lucky enough to be part of flight test for the 747, for the Dash 8, for the 400s, and so we end up taking the plane to extremes, what we need to do for flight testing, like shutting down engines in flight, or stalling the aeroplane to check warning systems, or deploying masks and depressurizing the plane, all sorts of things. Taking the gear down in flight, all this kind of thing. And I can tell you, she's just a beauty. So forgiving, so tough, so much redundancy. Yeah, there's no plane like it. There really isn't. It's probably the last of the sort of traditional Boeing airplanes, the Dash 8. The Dreamliner is a totally different story with the way it's produced, and it's produced on a computer, and none of these design engineers with pencils and rulers on a huge piece of paper drawing a plane out. It's a different story. So when I was going onto the 747, I've been flying the 747 now for about 11, 12 years. Everybody told me, why are you going to the 747? The story for the 747 is finished. It will be useless. The future are other airplanes. And I went on to the 747, and here we are 12 years later. And like I always say, the 747 is like the gift that keeps on giving. I think there's no end in sight for now. At least for the 747-8, there's still probably another 20, 30 years of life left if well maintained. And now with the newer engines from the Dreamliner, from General Electric on the Dash 8, of course those engines are going to be supported for much longer into the future, and therefore the 747 will continue in the Dash 8 variant. So yeah, I mean, even stalling the plane, if you go into a stall like a Cessna, characteristic wing drop, let go of the yoke because of the natural aerodynamic tendency of the wing, of the swept back wing, the nose drops, and you go out of the stall. Nothing to do. The only thing you have to remember is pitch first, like in a Cessna actually, and then power, because of the underslung engines, underwing slung engines. If you add thrust, there's a pitch up moment, and that can make your life even more difficult when you're trying to lower the nose in the stall. So we in training we always emphasize that, like in the simulators. And yeah, other big differences. I've flown the 777 as well. I'm still current on the 777, and the 777 is full fly-by-wire, for example. In the 74 there's a big pitch power couple, so if you change the thrust, if you add thrust, the nose will naturally go up, so you need to counter that with trimming. Vice versa if you reduce the thrust. But with the 777 and the Dreamliner, yeah, Hamid will tell you, if you add thrust, basically it's auto trimming for you, so there's hardly any change of pitch. So there's quite some big differences between the 747 and the 777 and the Dreamliner. But in terms of systems, there's a lot of commonality. Hamid, what was your experience coming from the Dreamliner to the 747?
I can say the difference between the 747 and the Dreamliner. First of all, there's a 787. They might not recommend disconnect of the throttle.
Yeah.
So they have a head-up display, and it's easy to fly in the head-up display. And especially they have there is no bleed on the 787.
Yeah.
But they have a CAC, cabin air compression, air conditioning for the air conditioning, have a humidity system, big screens, you know, and also this CAC air conditioning, cabin air conditioning. It's give additional fuel efficiency
Right.
for a long haul flight, and it's, I think the 777, it's between the 747 and 787.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mentioned actually that the 747 is the last original old style Boeing produced, but actually what I meant to say was that the 777 is the last traditional kind of strong, over-engineered Boeing that's ever been produced. I think that might be the last one now. But yeah, the Dreamliner is a different story now. And so much difference with, I mean, the whole physics of flying the two planes is totally different. So the maximum takeoff weight of the 747-8 is 447,000 kilograms, 447. And the max landing weight is 346,000 kilos, thereabouts on the 747-8. But on the 777 300ER, which is the biggest of the 777s, the maximum takeoff weight is 351 tons. So the maximum takeoff weight of the 777 is the maximum landing weight on the 747-8. So it's just simply by no matter how much Boeing or some manufacturer adds into the flight control logic to make the planes feel the same, you can't get around the physics. The 747 is a big, heavy aeroplane with lots of inertia. You know, your flare actually is starting much earlier. On the 747, yeah, if you're doing the mechanical approach, as we say, flying by the numbers, really you're starting your first check back in the flare at 50 feet. So it's a big difference. Big difference in the Dreamliner. Would you remember? It's quite a flat landing on the Dreamliner.
Yeah.
Maybe 20, 30 feet.
It's almost the same as the 50, 30. But in the 747-400, it's just steady. It's when I approach.
Yeah.
But the Dreamliner, the cost is a -8, 747-8.
Yeah.
Because the wing.
Yeah. Very, very
Yeah.
efficient. It's a glider wing basically, with the supercritical wing, and with the 747. Anyone who's familiar with the 747 Classic, if you watch it land, because the wing is quite stubby actually. If you cut the thrust, you will fall out of the sky, as we say. But you see that the landings are quite with a pronounced flare, pitch, nose up, and then touchdown. Whereas on the 747-400 onwards, because of the wing, it also glides very well, and you're in this huge ground effect from about 100 feet in the 747-400. The pitch from approach is going from about 0.5 only to about 2.5 degrees nose up for touchdown. So it's not a lot. And the Dash 8 is about the same, but a little bit less. Yeah, they say approximately when do you go into ground effect? This is like ground effect is the air between you and the airplane when you're coming to land. It's like a huge cushion. You actually have to fight it sometimes to keep the airplane descending. They say half the wingspan of an airplane is approximately, this is from physics, is the time when you go into ground effect. So for the 747, you're well into ground effect from about 150 feet onwards. Like I said, it's like a huge cushion just coming to land. But if I explain it to you, I mean, I can explain it to you, but every landing is different at the end of the day. No two landings are the same. Everybody sort of develops their own technique. When we instructing new pilots on the 74, we tell them this mechanical approach. Okay, you should do this from 30 feet. You should close the thrust at this altitude, and then later on, when they become more experienced, later on when they become more experienced, then they develop their own technique, or they can feel through seat of the pants, as we call it, when the plane starts to do certain things, what's going to happen next and how to counteract that. So that just comes with experience. Yeah, but I mean, so might have heard the English saying there's many ways to skin a cat. Well, there's many ways to fly an airplane. Just plain viewers will know, from nav geeks will know, from watching different videos, cockpit videos, every airline has its own procedures and call-outs. And over the course of this series with Just Planes, you'll notice in Silkway there is not too much talking on the flight deck in terms of call-outs. For example, some airlines, they call out
123, decimal 105,
speed, LNB, nav, every time there's a change. Or
sorry, 128.
sometimes you watch.
105.
I have also flown for airlines where there's quite a lot of talking, and frankly, it gives me a headache. I'm well into the Silkway philosophy of not too much talking. If something is not going right, then you should mention something. The philosophy is that it gives you more brain capacity to catch things wider, outside of the box, as we say in aviation. A small example: when selecting flaps, the philosophy in Silkway is, for example, I asked to Hamid flaps 1. Don't do it, by the way. I asked to Hamid flaps 1, and in some companies, the pilot monitoring will say speed checked, flaps selected 1, and then when flaps are set at 1, you'll say flaps set or something like this. For us, that's too much talking. So in Silkway, how does it happen? I check the speed, I ensure the speed is appropriate. I ask to Hamid flaps 1. Hamid checks the speed silently to himself. He checks that it's appropriate. He selects the flaps, and then when he observes the flaps moving, he calls flaps moving 1. To be fair, this flaps moving is very rare. It's not very common in the aviation industry. It's kind of an overhang from the 747 Classic, or those of you who are familiar with the 737, where there's this gauge with the flaps, and then you have the leading edge flaps, the slats as they call them, and trailing edge flaps, and the needles are moving to show the position of the flap. So it's kind of an overhang from the 747 Classic, but still, that's how we do here. So silent cockpit, not too much talking, gives us time, more capacity to think, to handle airmanship issues, and yeah. So now, a company, we don't call out FMAs. That's not to say we're not checking. We are checking. It's just that we're checking silently. And if the status of the autopilot or the status of the airplane is not what we expect it to be, then we say something. Just like now you see on modern airplanes, overhead panel with push buttons and this dock cockpit philosophy. So we have the same in Silkway. Like I said, there's many ways to skin a cat. I'm not saying another airline does it not in a good way, or we do it in a better way. It's just a different philosophy of flying, and as you can imagine, Silkway has more than 20 different nationalities of just pilots flying for us from all over the globe, and everybody's coming from a different background. Hamid comes from Azerbaijan. He went through flight training in a different way. He has a different level of experience to me. I came from the UK. I had a different level of flying initiation or flying training, and flown for quite a few airlines with different philosophies. Somebody else from the US, the same. We have pilots from all over the world. And so how to bring everybody into a cockpit flying from the same hymn sheet, as we say, the way is only and only standard operating procedures, SOP. So the company sets up a framework of improved efficiency and to ensure safety, and both Hamid and I know what we're supposed to be doing, know what we're supposed to be saying at the right time. SOP is we have our Bible on board, the Flight Crew Operations Manual, and it has all the company SOP set up, and we both fly to that. So we both know what we're doing the right things at the right time, nothing unexpected, including call-outs, and I think it's like an obsession for pilots to be so picky and perfect with SOP, right? Yeah. see Vienna? It's just here under the cloud. I think you get a view of Vienna.
Correct. I have an nice day, sorry, for
What's this 18 right RCR time? Runway condition report. Yeah, 555, so it's good, huh? So other, let's say, people who are familiar with the Airbus, the other giant aircraft manufacturer, don't get me wrong, I like Airbus. I'm not an Airbus hater, because generally Airbus and Boeing pilots have a rivalry. But maybe I will fly it one day, who knows? Everything changes very fast in Azerbaijan, like I said. Boeing's philosophy has basically always been to not to automate everything to the T. So whereas in Airbus, the philosophy is that there's a lot of automation. For example, on the 777, if you would have an engine failure after takeoff, yes, there is thrust asymmetry compensation for the rudder. So the airplane, the autoflight system will give you rudder, but it won't give you all the rudder. It won't trim it out completely, because one of the telltale signs for a pilot as to which engine is failed is through the legs, through the rudder pedals. And so it gives you maybe 60% of the rudder input automatically. Of course, if it's a flame out, if it's a severe damage, it's a different story. But and it leaves a little bit of room for just enough for you to recognize which engine has failed and still be an airman, still be a pilot, still be flying the plane. In the same way, just a small example, Airbus pilots are really used to, because we train Airbus pilots onto Boeing from the national carrier, and a small example, you probably always see us fiddling with this heading bug. But in Airbus, if you are following lateral navigation from the program from the FMS, from the CDU, the airplane is updating the heading bug automatically for the routing. In Boeing, it doesn't. Even on the Dreamliner still.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's the same. You have to constantly be for example, this aircraft has heading up on the top of the map, but this triangle you see here is the track. So now we have wind, basically pretty much headwind, so therefore there's not too much drift, and it's difficult for you to see. But when we position Dexit, when we turn right towards Mapox into German airspace, you will see that we will have a crosswind, and there will be a difference in the triangle and the heading up, and that's our sort of heading. That's our heading, and that's the track we are flying over the ground. So if the wind changes, we have to constantly put the heading bug on the track, so that in case lateral navigation fails and we have to go to raw modes like heading select, then there's no change in the direction of the airplane. We already know what the drift was, we already know what but that's not because Boeing didn't think about that. That's a design philosophy. Like I said, airlines have philosophies in standard operating procedures. Some like to talk a lot, some don't like to talk a lot. Some airlines like to reinvent the wheel, believe me, I know it. But it's not that Boeing didn't think about that. It's in their philosophy. It's for the pilot to stay engaged with what's happening. If I have to update the heading bug, it means the wind changed. Or it means it keeps me in the loop as to where the wind is coming from. Do we have a lot of crosswind? Do we have a lot of drift? It's forcing the pilot to stay engaged with the airplane, stay engaged with the situational awareness. So it's a philosophy thing. It's not that Boeing didn't want to do that. And that philosophy runs through the entire design of Boeing airplanes.
132, 730, Silkway 209. Bye-bye.
Through their designs as well. So, so yeah, that's a little bit of a rundown on philosophies for Boeing and Airbus, people who are familiar with Boeing and Airbus airplanes. So I often get asked by young guys about getting into flying, the thing is, aviation is quite a cutthroat environment in the sense that it's very dynamic. Any small disruption in world economics or the political situation in the world it affects basically aviation first. And so it's not uncommon, especially nowadays, for airline pilots to have been, as they say, furloughed or laid off or made redundant, like we say in the UK, multiple times in their career. It's happened to me 3 times in my career so far. So please do us a favor. If you're not into flying, if you're not passionate about flying, please stay clear, because you need a lot of passion for you to overcome all the hardships in aviation, the ups and downs, the working environment. It's quite tough. We're constantly at altitude. We're constantly away from families. Yeah, there are good things. There are plus points. If you ask me, there's more minuses than pluses nowadays. But if you're doing it for the money, or for the glamour, or for some other reason, somebody's pushing you to do it, I would say steer clear, because there's no money anymore in aviation. There's no glamour, not that I saw so far. And yeah, you really need to be passionate to get you through flying. Don't worry about taking pictures and being on social media when you're going to flight training. Get through your flight training with good standard, learn as much as you can. All that can come later on, you know, or wearing bars already with the PPR and all that kind of thing. I think it's a bit silly, if you ask me. But yeah, just work hard. For those of you who go through it, I mean, like I said, the time when I was after flight training, when I was on the ground for a few years, I was passionate about aviation, but I was still down. Can you imagine if you don't want to be in aviation, or you're in it for the wrong reasons? It's your passion that gets you through such situations. Most pilots, thankfully, always have the same story like I do when asked about why you went into aviation. We all wanted to do it from a young age. I remember one of your colleagues coming from the previous airline to Silkway, and I remember asking him, so what do you think, you made the right choice to come to 747? And he said, you know what, he said, when I was in academy, National Aviation Academy, he said, I used to play there's a basketball pitch there, right? Okay. For sports. He said, I used to play basketball, and I used to see Silkway landing on runway 5, and his look up to the plane and say, and this was like at that point a wannabe pilot. He said, one day that's the plane I want to fly, and that's the company I want to be flying for. And here he was now, 6-7 years later, Boeing 747 first officer, and that's what dreams are made of, really. Yeah. I don't come from a privileged background. I'm the first one in my family who entered into aviation. Everyone else is in the medical field, and I was just thankful and lucky at the time. I had the support of my parents, and financial situation was such that I could get into flying. But I think if I had delayed just a year or two, I don't think I would have been like the stars wouldn't have aligned for me to actually go into to flight training, and you know, all the ingredients came together, and it was just it all happened, it all came together. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And please, guys, if you want to fly big airplanes, you have to accept you will be away from home. There's no point wanting to fly 747 or 777 or an A350 and then complain if you're away from home. Because you're flying big airplane that's designed to fly far. For me, that's what aviation is all about. That's what flying is all about. Taking an airplane 10 hours across the world, experiencing new cultures, meeting new people, experiencing, you know, different destinations and the way different people do the way things differently. That's what aviation is about for me, along with flying. But if you want to fly big airplanes, you have to understand you're not going to be home. So this is a message for all mourning colleagues. He's not a mourner, I know he's not a mourner. Just checking the performance here. SW888. Amsterdam 18 right. It's 100% wet, all segments of the runway. The wind, if we take, it's variable. If we take the worst wind with the maximum component, it actually gives us 7 knots tailwind. Temperature +3, very low pressure 992. Decision height, minimum climb gradient is 2.5%. Rating for go-around, flaps steady, 3 packs on, 90s off. All the auto brakes, overview, no non-normal condition, and manual landing. And landing weight 298.5. RB 211, 524 Golf. And we see, I think, auto brakes 3, 2,500.
And excuse me,
yeah.
anti-ice off or engines?
I'm sorry, you're right. We should have engine anti-ice on with that temperature. You're right. So 2,500, and if we look at Jepson, so we look at the
53.
I have to select the runway here. 18 right, and then show the landing distances. So Victor 3 is basically what we're looking for, right? Yeah. Minimum runway occupancy time. If I don't float, probably we can make Victor 2 with auto brake 3. So if you're happy, we'll go with auto brake 3.
Yeah.
Okay. In this case, descent procedure, please. ILS runway 18 right, Norco 2 Alpha arrival, and auto brakes 3, landing data flaps 30. Okay. Right 5 degrees.
Turn right 5 degrees, Silkway 209.
315, heading select.
Checked.
Runway 18 right, transition level 50. The runway is wet, it's 100% wet, but the braking action is good. So because of that, and the wind is from the left, completely crosswind, completely variable. Could be a tailwind in the west condition, but we've accounted for it. Visibility 4,100 meters, light drizzle, few at 300 feet, so it's just above Cat 1. And temperature +3, dew point +3, 992. So because, like you said, because of the moisture and the temperature, we will need national anti-ice on for now.
Okay.
And taxiing. So aircraft status is fine for now. Nothing to affect us. Noise abatement, they don't mind about reverse, and I will use it because it's a wet runway. I will aim for a constant descent approach as usual for noise. Terminal shots. We're on 10-2, 10th of September 2021. And Norco 2 Alpha for jet aircraft 250 knots below 10,000, sorry, flight level 100. Which?
Fighting 325 degrees, Silkway 209.
325.
Get 1271, contact
Yeah,
Maastricht.
250 knots below flight level 100 is what we do anyway. MSA from Schiphol, VOR, is 2,300 feet worst case. The routing, Norku between flight level 200 and 280.
Check.
Sonsa, Robis, Oscar, RTIP for jet aircraft below flight level 100.
Check.
And 250 knots.
Checked.
And then we go over to the approach chart, but basically, I mean, two things can happen.
Okay.
After RTIP, they will start to radar vector us. Maybe. Sometimes they say direct to Schiphol VOR. Sometimes they say direct to Spijkerbol, Sierra Papa Yankee, as the Dutch would say. But basically, this is direct to Schiphol, and I've taken 15 miles before Schiphol because I expect to be vectored by then to final.
Okay.
So.
Silkway 209, descent flight level 260, 1500 feet per minute or more.
Descent flight level 260, 1500 per minute of greater. Silkwest 209.
So
Ryanair 8308, hello, then fine.
1500 feet per minute, and he wanted decimal 83.
Just
So continuing.
Okay.
It's okay, you can take down the top and center.
Just a second.
Okay. So 11-5 ILS or localizer runway 18 right, 8th of August 2021. We checked the glide slope at Alpha Mike 621, 2,000 feet.
Okay.
Minimum for Cat 1 aircraft 187, set left.
Check the set right.
When established on ILS, maintain 160 till 4 miles. Always basically, our reference speed is 160. Okay. So we should communicate that to them when we switch over to approach.
Okay.
Please be advised of the final approach speed 165.
Okay.
And the routing, Pevos, max 220 knots, 2000 above. Alpha Mike 621 is where we start the descent from. 3-degree guide path. Pipe is on the left side with high intensity approach lights. And there's a lot of information here, but basically we go over to the taxi chart. Taxi chart is 10-9, 3rd of December 2021.
Check.
Changing over to the moving map. We'll probably make Victor 3. And Victor, we could either cross at Whiskey 5 or go via Zulu all the way around, long way. But Whiskey 5 is likely. When we switch over to Whiskey 5, Delta, which changes to Bravo, then we go up to Quebec.
Now 300 knots, direct RTIP, Silkwest 209.
300 knots.
RTIP on top. Confirm.
And execute. LNAV.
Checked.
Do you still want the rate of descent, can you ask? Do they still want the rate of descent?
Excuse me?
Do they still want 1500?
No. Ask me.
Yes, please.
Right, the Silkwest 209, I confirm. Rate of descent 1,500 or greater.
Okay. So up to Quebec, right with the Marshal onto Romeo, and we normally park on the Romeo.
Feet per minute or more.
2,000 per minute or more, Silkwest 209.
2000.
Checked.
And to the Romeo stance. I mean, if you don't like something or I don't like something, just call Goran. We've got lots of fuel.
Okay.
I'll advance the thrust levers, press the toggle switches, call Goran flaps 20. Positive rate, gear up. The routing is turn right, maximum 220 knots, but not below 500 feet to Alpha Mike 621. Do not overshoot radial 240 from Schiphol. Okay. Climb to cross Alpha Mike 64 at 2000, alt at Alpha Mike 64, track 300, inform 18 immediately, basically.
Speed 12585, Silkwest 209.
12858.
12858.
Sorry, 12858, Silkwest 209, bye-bye.
KLM 26 uniform, call Amsterdam 12858. Direct to Sierra Papa Lima, and we are clear to descend now. Flight 100, Etihad 917.
917, correct.
Amsterdam, hello, KLM 26 uniform.
26 uniform, goedendag, met een level 280, continue the heading, ILS runway 18 center.
Continue the heading, maintain level 280, ILS 18 center, KLM 26 uniform.
26 uniform, your speed 250 for a while.
Speed 250, KLM 26 uniform.
Amsterdam, Silkwest 209, good afternoon, level 260, direct R-tip and speed 300. Set.
And let's just brief that one again. 11-3, 6th of August 21. ILS 109.5, final approach course 182 is already pre-selected.
Checked.
Glide stop checkpoint Alpha Mike 630 2000. Minima Cat 1 188.
Set.
Sea level is, elevation is below sea level.
Checked.
And flight pitches. And the go-round, climb on 182 2000, inform 18 minutes, easier.
Checked.
Arrival fuel, 28 tons. We need 12 for Cologne. So that's like an hour of holding finished. Autopilot flight rate is LNAV, VNAV as much as possible. Approach mode for landing, manual landing. Miscellaneous is a few points actually. For 18 center, after vacate the runway, it's automatic frequency change 121.905 for reminder. And the speed control they have is so changing to Schiphol approach is just Schiphol approach Silkwest 209, and changing to tower it's just Schiphol tower runway Silkwest 209 runway 18 center, just to minimum chatter.
Speed 280 knot, descent flight level 180, Silkwest 209.
280 knots, 180.
Checked.
According to the NOTAMs, when we enter to Romeo,
Yeah.
because of works on this Papa 20 to 22, they will take us, follow me will take us a little bit left of the set line, according to NOTAMs. Any questions?
No
Anything
questions.
to add?
No.
Thank you very much. Descent checks, please.
Okay. Descent checklist recall. Checked. Auto brake.
3.
Landing with a bit of minimums.
Video flap steady 157, bar minimum is 188, sir.
Checked. Approach briefing.
Complete if you're happy.
Descent checklist complete.
Because the runway changed, kindly check the performance for 18 center, please.
Okay.
KLM 26 uniform after ATEM to Alina. ATEM Alina, KLM 26 uniform. KLM 35 Foxtrot, climb flight level 290. Flight level 290, KLM 35 Foxtrot. Emirates 9920, climb flight level 250.
Climb flight level 250, 9920.
Etihad 917, descent flight level 70, reduce speed 250 knots. Descending flight level 70, reducing speed 250 knots, Etihad 917. Etihad 917, contact approach 119055, goodbye. 119055, Etihad 917, thanks, bye-bye. Dream Team 057 Yankee, direct to Mexico. Yeah, that's Mexico, Dream Team 057 Yankee. KLM 565 is with you, climbing out of 6,700. KLM 525, hello, continue present heading, climb flight level 170.
Over heading, climb flight level 170, KLM 565.
Silkway 209, descend flight level 70.
Descend flight level 70, Silkway 209.
Flight level 70, temperatures -1, SLNT is on, please.
KLM 48, Victor, turn left heading 290. Left heading 290, KLM 46. KLM 88 Alpha, descend flight level.
By the way, the threat today is the transition level is very low, and it's a big difference, 1013,992. We will lose up.
Etihad 917, descend to 3,000 feet, QNH 992 hectopascal.
Standing 3,000 feet for QNH 992, Etihad 917.
What do we have?
917, turn left heading 210.
How to calculate your track miles and whether you're high or low on a 3-degree glide slope?
KLM 982 Victor,
What we do is we take your altitude, first digit or first two.
209, speed 230 knots.
Speed 230 knots, Silkway 209.
Clap 1, please.
Flaps moving 1.
So we take the first digit of, for example, in this case we have 5,000 feet. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 10 miles to slow down. So 25. Here we have 21 miles to go.
3,000 feet on glide slope. You are cleared for the
So
island
we probably
3,000 on the glide slope, cleared for the island approach runway 18.
5 miles to slow. We're probably perfect on glide slope now.
Thank you.
230 knots.
Checked.
Request 209, reduce further 180 knots.
Speed 180 knots, Silkway 209.
Flaps 5.
KLM 26 uniform, descend 3,000 feet, 992.
Flaps moving 5.
So now we have 4,000, so take the 4 times 3, 4, 8, 12. And about 5 miles to slow from this speed. So 17 miles, perfect.
900 to go.
Checked. Alina, Sonora.
Request 209er, turn left heading 210, intercept the localizer runway 18.
Left heading 210, intercept localizer runway 18, Silkway 209 heavy.
210.
992 Victor, speed
Zulu Whiskey
210.
Alpha identified. Correct, sensing.
Speed 210, KLM 92.
Approach.
Checked.
Flaps 10.
Flaps moving 10.
Etihad 917, you are cleared for the approach. Your number 2, contact the tower on 118105.
118-105 and clear for the ILS approach runway 18 center Etihad 917.
Localizer alive.
KLM 48 Victor.
Bach 48 Victor, 18 center view.
18 center, KLM 48 Victor.
You see the KLM on the right side.
Okay, was it for 18 right?
Request 209, reduce to 165 and contact tower 118105.
Speed 165 and 118-105. Silkway 209. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Gear down, flaps 20.
We'll need 1.5 meters for KLM 498. Okay, report back.
Flaps moving 20.
Okay.
Scheduled tower Silkway 209, runway 18 center.
Request 209, number 2 for runway 18 center.
Number 2, runway 18 center, Silkway 209.
Flaps 13,
Mike, can we still line up? You may line up or
Flaps 13,
wait, 174, KLM 49.
Speed is... Okay. Flaps
I see flaps 25, please.
Clear to land, with 1106. Sorry, 18 center, clear to land at Etihad 9017.
Flaps moving 25.
Stand by. Flaps 30.
Flaps moving 30. Past 3 degrees.
Checked, and cell anti-ice on, please.
Cell anti-ice on.
Landing checklist.
Landing checklist. Speed brake.
Armed.
Landing gear.
Down.
Down. Flaps.
Dirty.
That's checked. Landing check is complete. Alpha Mike 630, check 2000.
Line up and wait, 18 left, Echo 5, Roger, KLM 81 whiskey. KLM 49 Mike ready. KLM 49 Mike, Roger, departure in 1 minute, waiting for landing time. Roger.
Synchronize that.
Yeah. Altitude is 2000.
Roger.
Set. Check.
It's probably rolling out. Okay, approach lights.
With 105. Front left, Echo 4, clear station.
Manual flight.
49 Mike.
Manual thrust.
917, whiskey 7, thanks. Thank you, 917, continue on Bravo, contact on 1905. 1905, continue Bravo, thanks for landing. Silkway 209, runway 18 center, clear to land, with 1107.
Clear to land, runway 18 center, Silkway 209.
Tower, good day, KM 26 uniform, ILS 18 center. KM 26 uniform, number 2, 1 center. So.
More crosswind now, isn't it?
Tower
500 feet.
608, super, holding for the Echo 6.
Checked. Landing.
Speed brake up. Landing. Speed brake up.
hello, KLM 90 Victor, step aside, that's 187. KLM 90 Victor, number 2 for the center. KLM 26, uniform 18 center, clear to land with 106, uniform 1.
Clear to land 18 center, KLM 26 uniform.
Clear left.
Check speed, correct.
Now to
Okay, I'm going 12190.
Roger.
Transavia 412 Papa, stand by, 121.805.
Clear left.
Clear on the right. Skipper ground Silkway 209, good afternoon.
Silkway 209, via Quebec, taxi to Romeo 82.
Via Quebec, taxi Romeo 82, Silkway 209.
So the rest as briefed.
Yeah.
After line procedure, please.
Enter Alpha 7.
We have a transponder left.
Check.
Cancel a message.
Yes, please. Clear left.
Clear on the right.
Well, that was fun.
And we have a 6 degrees. And wait runway, nationalization.
Checked.
Clear on the right.
Clear left. Over the bridge and far away. Teletubbies come out to play. So this is the new taxiway here. And it's sad because there was a canal over here, a really nice one, where all the spotters used to come and watch our beautiful airplane. All gone now.
Minutes past.
Thank you.
Wait for the marshal.
Cockpit Silkway 209, I'll hold for the marshal guidance. Silkway 209.
Yes, you can enter the apron, but hold to where the Etihad is now taxiing, sir.
Cockpit, enter the apron and hold where the Etihad. Silkway 209.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Closed as no time.
Hello, okay.
But that has no time to
well, yeah.
Taxi via Quebec to Bravo 32.
So
Quebec to Bravo 32, KLM 96. ICER 501 Delta 4.
Much less to come back.
Hello, for the ICER, there presently is a KLM 777 behind you. When they're clear, your push and start approved.
Okay, when clear off the KLM 777, push and start approved. ICER 501.
Call 9.
Ah, there's another one. Another marshal.
Mike, hello, cross Zulu 2, then taxi Quebec to Delta 56. Stop Zulu 2, and then fire Quebec to Delta 56. Yeah, that's it.
Now we have to wait here.
Say we're inside.
Okay.
He says follow me, so.
Ground Silkway 209, follow me inside.
Thank you, follow marshal guiding closely around the debris there on the taxiway.
Okay, Cockpit, follow me, Silkway 209.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
63 Juliet, request taxi.
63 Juliet.
Clear on the right.
Bravo to runway 18 left, cross runway 27.
Fly out to Bravo to 18 left and cross 27 KLM 60 Juliet. Call to low KLM 486, Whiskey 6.
KLM 486, goeiedag. Taxi via Quebec to Charlie 10.
Quebec, Charlie 10, KLM 486.
Okay, right, still clear.
KLM 486 enter Quebec behind opposite company 737 now on Zulu.
Quebec behind you opposite.
Engine's clear.
KLM 34 mile, continue via Quebec, you will be number 1 for command.
Right,
Flight Quebec, number 1, KLM 5.
clear.
Start the APU, please.
Just wait.
KLM 611 Alpha 8 and Bravo for runway 18 left Echo 6 and November 2 cross runway 27.
Of 8 and Bravo, cross 27 at November 2, 18 left.
Lights off.
Yeah.
611.
Lights off. Clear on the right.
Clear on the left.
Front 65 Kilo Charlie, bonjour, cross Zulu 2, taxi via Quebec to Charlie 12.
Zulu 2, Quebec, last time is Charlie 1, France 65 Kilo Charlie, bonjour.
So the Nacelle test auto
APU running.
and shutdown procedure.
Cut.
Boom.
KLM 611, stand by ground frequency 11805, bye-bye.
KLM.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Amsterdam. We had a runway change at the last moment, which always causes a bit of a challenge, but that's what we're here for. And not so nice conditions in Amsterdam. The weather was kind of in and out on close to the minima, but it was okay with a variable crosswind from the left. And we're happy because we got a closer runway, shorter taxi in, and here we are. So stay tuned for the rest of the series with Silkway West and Just Planes.